I'm going to tell you a story about a prosecutor so corrupt that a federal judge is allowing the prosecutor to be sued for liable against an individual who simply was trying to make a living. Put up the picture for Mass. It's a damn shame. Prosecutor tried to retaliate after a man recovered seized property. His seized property. Atlanta Black Star did great in this reporting. The Michigan Court of Appeals ruled that a county prosecutor must now face a federal lawsuit, which is rare. But this prosecutor, who has all types of immunity, will now have to face a federal lawsuit by Mr. Robert Reeves, who is pictured there. Mr. Reeves, whose attorneys say was unjustifiably charged with criminal offenses twice for challenging a civil forfeiture case. Now remember, civil forfeiture, already on argument unconstitutional, okay? There's no due process. Nobody takes you through a court, but they're able to take your money, sometimes your assets, without said due process. And typically there's a system, a bureaucracy in place for you to get your stuff back. Sometimes these systems are intentionally difficult. Some people just leave their money there. It's not worth it. And that's what these systems bank on. But Mr. Reeves wasn't having it. And Reeves, 32 years of age, he's a construction worker. He's also a car repairman. Works with his hands. He knows how to fix things. He partnered with the Institute of Justice to bring a complaint against Wayne County Counsel and Prosecutor. They probably laughed at the complaint at first. Davidde, Stella, and Dennis Doherty, respectively. Now, why would they laugh at the complaint? Prosecutors have immunity. Very simple. Their immunity is technically more solid than police immunity, and that's qualified immunity, okay? They don't have qualified immunity. They have regular ass immunity, okay? All right. Details on the original incident. According to the suit, July 2019, Mr. Reeves went to a job site to meet with a friend who posed a question to him and said, "Hey, do you know how to operate a skid steer?" Afterward, he went to a gas station where he was stopped by police who questioned him about stolen rental equipment from Home Depot. Mr. Reeves was detained, and his car, cell phones, and $2,280 he had on hand were seized by the police. He was jailed for several hours and then released with no charges at all, not one. However, authorities did not relinquish Reeves' property, never filed a forfeiture complaint, or scheduled a post-seizure hearing, according to the complaint. Now, if you take somebody's assets, you take somebody's money, usually you're going to use this as evidence and you have to provide the proper paperwork in order to seize it. They didn't do that. After they seize it under the Forfeiture Act, they typically will grant you, if you request or if you're paying attention, a post-forfeiture, post-seizure hearing. So, hey, listen, you got to talk to a judge about it. All right, go to a judge. Judge can set it straight for you. None of that happened. So this sounds like, to me, they just took his damn money. There's more. Robert's attempts to retrieve his property failed for months. It wasn't until he joined a federal class action lawsuit filed by the Institute for Justice, and great work by the Institute, in 2020 against Wayne County, alleging its vehicle forfeiture program was unconstitutional, that county officials finally surrendered his car and sent him a check for the amount of cash seized in July 2019. Now, you would assume that once he gets his money, He has been restored his vehicle. All is good, right? No. A month later, the Wayne County prosecutors decided to charge Mr. Reeves with felony receipt or concealment of stolen property. Mr. Reeves later learned that the seizure of his property was connected to an investigation by the Michigan State Police Task Force into a string of rental equipment thefts from Home Depot stores. The task force did send an arrest warrant request to the Wayne County Prosecutor's Office. This happened in September 2019, but the office never acted on it, according to the complaint. Doherty, one of the prosecutors, then allegedly contacted the task force in February 2020, received a new warrant request calling for Mr. Reeves' arrest and recommended the task force file the request. So the man is arrested again. 2020, month of May. But due to complications and delays with COVID, his preliminary hearing was delayed until February 2021. At the hearing, finally, the judge dismissed his charges due to insufficient evidence. 2 weeks later, charges were dismissed. The Wayne County Prosecutor's Office refiled them again. And Reeves had to appear before the same judge for not committing a crime. And that same judge did what? Dismissed the charges again. Why are we doing this? Retaliation. So Reeves' complaint alleges that the prosecutors abused the criminal process and pursued prosecution against him twice in retaliation for his participation in a class action lawsuit. The suit seeks damages for the violation of Reeves' constitutional rights. They have created a new lawsuit out of the class action lawsuit for retaliating criminally against Mr. Reeves. June 2023, the defendants filed a motion for summary judgment to resolve the case without a trial on the grounds of governmental immunity and failure to state a claim. The trial court partly granted the motion, dismissing Reeves' claim against Stella based on what? Absolute prosecutorial immunity. As I said, they have more immunity than the police. Their immunity is not qualified. Their immunity is absolute, basically. But ruled that the complaint failed to state a viable cause of action. The court did not grant summary judgment and allowed Reeves and his attorneys to amend their complaint for better specific, more direct, more focused claim. That's called a decent judge. Okay? So they were allowed to create what's called a specific tort. That tort claim listed now in the suit. So then on June 9th, the Michigan Court of Appeals ruled that Doherty was not entitled to prosecutorial immunity due to the adjusted claim and must now face suit. I want to highlight how thoughtful the judge was. The judge could have dismissed it because technically that absolute immunity did apply. And the specifics are sometimes difficult to navigate because, well, prosecutors are not sued because of that absolute immunity dynamic. But there was enough here to where the judge said, listen, I'm going to have to grant the defendant's motion for a summary judgment, basically eliminating your case that you have brought before the judge. But then the judge said, but however, if you specify this particular tort claim and bring it back before me, something may happen. And that's what he did. And the judge granted it. Now, this is likely going to be a precedent-setting case. How many times have you heard or we reported on prosecutors being successfully sued in a court of law via the federal court system? None. Hasn't happened. Even when they engage in cover-up manipulate witnesses, on record for lying. Still, no prosecution, rarely. All right. So I'm glad that Mr. Reeves stood to his guns on this one and pushed forward. You're a great, great leader, dear brother, and you are transforming criminal justice reform for the better. Sharon, hell of a thing. They kept arresting this brother for absolutely doing nothing illegal.
Yeah, it's worse than any initial suspect infraction, in my view. And I think it's legal terrorism, prosecutorial terrorism, and they've got to be held to account, I think, even criminally. This is horrific. Horrific. You can break somebody, which is their intent.
Yeah. Yep, that's right. That's right. All right, we're going to bring you updates as updates develop.